Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series all in action this weekend. We give you a betting edge next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us here tonight on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. I'm your host, Derek Yoder, and with Michigan now in the rear view, Trucks head to IRP to kick off their playoffs. Xfinity and the Cup Series, meanwhile, head to the IMS Road Course this weekend. So it is going to be a lot of great conversations here tonight. The NASCAR Betting Preview Show is hosted and presented by Atlas Hair. Atlas is an elite line of hairstyling products with cologne fragrances. If you're on YouTube, you saw that action happen right there. Get started today at atlashair.com. Use the promo code NASCAR. That's NASCAR for 20% off your entire order. atlashair.com. That's ATLASHAIR.com. For those watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. It helps out our partners at In Between Media. We're going to get right into things here tonight, and I already see a lot of people filing in from a Twitter Spaces standpoint, so thank you to everybody for tuning in. Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast, will be joining us here tonight. Mark, a.k.a. SKYBOX NASCAR, will be joining us. He's the host of the Laying Coin Pod. Phil, I know you just lost power here, so you're not joining us via YouTube, but you are with us on the Twitter Spaces. So how we feeling going into Indy Road?
Well, Derek, I was feeling pretty good until the power went out for no reason. It's a sunny day here just outside of Philadelphia, and I don't know if that's a bad omen. Very strange, but I'm going to get it back soon, and if I can, I'll be on the YouTube with you fellas. But looking, I don't necessarily know if I would have found myself looking forward to Indy Road Course, but after taking a look at some of the books and different plays out there, I'm feeling excited about it. So happy to talk things out tonight for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with you here this evening, and want to kick it over to our guy, SKYBOX NASCAR. Looking forward to chatting with you, Mark, this evening. You obviously are the host of the Laying Coin Pod through the Gears podcast. So are you ready to see cars turning left and right this weekend?
God, 2 weeks in a row, we're left and right. We're, as Brad Perez would say, we're going squiggly racing. Fired up for it, Indy Turn 1, not necessarily that fired up for it. However, we're trying with the restart zone. We'll see if you're 20th on back. We'll be seeing you. But there's some big numbers on the board this week. We saw some guys run well last year, and they are at some hellacious numbers. So I'm looking forward to it. I would definitely say I am absolutely lighter than I have been. Definitely light this week. So looking forward to it. Ready to talk some shop. I think there's some opportunities on the board this week. So let's rock.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think there's some good opportunities out there for us, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to welcome on our guest this evening. Joining us, it's Matt Stallknecht. He is the Monday Night Racing co-owner, Monday Night Racing season champion that just happened on Monday. So I can't wait to talk about that. And then Matt oversees business development for Tipico Sportsbook. Matt, thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate talking with you. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, guys. It's been a minute since I got a chance to
now,
chat
Matt,
with
I know
you
it's
guys.
been a while, so unmute that mic on Twitter Spaces, and we'll make sure that you're getting to talk to the people. There we go. Now we're
rookie, just a rookie over here, man. It's terrible. No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a minute, so looking forward to chop it up. I think this is a super exciting from not just from a racing perspective, but from a betting perspective, I think this is a really, really intriguing race this week with some of the ringers at really big prices. And I think there's going to be a lot to unpack. So appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to chatting with you here this evening. I think I had you on last year for a road course. Want to say it was Sonoma. Maybe it was Indy, whichever one it was. I know it was one of those technical style courses. You did well enough, obviously, to come back. You and I talk as frequently as we can. So I know that you're going to really help the people out here this evening. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's do this. Let's get into some of the track facts, Dave. I'm going to go over the show outline. We're going to go over those track facts. I want to hear what the guys have to say from a head-to-head standpoint. Then we're going to dive into some finishing position props, outright market, and then I want to get to you, the listeners, and hear what you guys have to say as we're going into this weekend. So on Sunday, the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard will happen. Stage 1 will be 15 laps. Stage 2 will be 20 laps. Stage 3 will be 47 laps. However, unlike most races where we go, if you remember the road courses, there are stage points awarded, but there are no stage breaks. So it's going to really be a pivotal tool for us to really handicap through various perspectives. So on Saturday at 11:35 Eastern, we're going to have practice, and qualifying will be at 12:30, and then the Cup race will be on Sunday at 2:30 on NBC. So a couple some trends, history here. They've only been racing in this configuration twice. Chevy is 2-0. AJ Allmendinger won the first race there, where it was just a wild, wacky race that first year, and then last year Tyler Reddick won. We thought maybe Ross Chastain was going to win after he made a couple moves, but Tyler Reddick went to victory lane there. Only Kyle Busch this year in 2023 has finished top 5 in each of the 3 road course events. SVG and many other road course ringers, which you'll hear that a lot this week, are attempting to take down the NASCAR regulars. So I asked Matt a couple hours ago, what some comps were. We were talking about maybe what some of those comps look like. And I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say when it comes to these. But I'm curious to go into the head-to-head market. And Phil, if you're still with us, I want to dive right into that and give you the floor first. So where have you found an edge in the head-to-head market this week?
Head-to-head matchup that I had sent over to you earlier was one that I was pleasantly surprised when I came across it for a few different reasons here. This is over Ryan Blaney, and for some reason, Blaney was the favorite in this matchup. So I'm getting Ty Gibbs at minus 105. He originally actually was like plus 100, but I think some people jumped on that, and you can see it starting to move a little bit. But the way that I kind of fell into this one was looking at Blaney. Trying to say to myself, all right, what's going on with him? 2 top 10s in his last 9 races on the road courses since the 2022 season started. So basically next-gen car. And he's only got 3 top 20s in that time span. His total speed in that time span, according to Ryan at iFantasy Race, 21st. So that got my attention. His average finish being 20.4 is like, whoa, what's going on here? 2023 has not treated him well on the 3 road courses we've been to so far. His average finish is 28.3, not one finish inside the top 20. Meanwhile, you look at Gibbs. This season, he's got 2 top 10s. His average finish is 8th in NASCAR. He's 3 for 3 finishing in the top 20. So he's 3-0 against Blaney this year on these road courses, 7th in total speed this season. And he's gotten faster every single time out. So you got to assume like this is just a young driver, just kind of learning on the fly on these road courses. He's good in Xfinity, as we know. And the big selling factor to me, I talk about it a lot on wintherace.info, Ryan Stevens' website. He ranks them every week, and I try to find the biggest discrepancy in a head-to-head, and I usually play that. This matchup has the largest discrepancy I've ever seen since Daytona. It's Ty Gibbs ranked 8th versus Ryan Blaney 34th. That's a 26-spot difference for all you math whizzes out there. So the fact that Gibbs is the underdog in this is just wild to me. So give me Ty Gibbs minus 105, and that's on Caesars.
Okay, so Ty Gibbs minus 105, like you said, over Ryan Blaney. And if you're watching on the YouTube, you'll see everything scroll across the bottom, so you don't have to wonder what's kind of going on there. So, Mark, I'm going to kick it over to you. We obviously heard what Phil had to say. What about you when it comes to the head-to-head market?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Ryan Blaney at the end here. But I'm going with a guy. It's essentially an addiction at this point. I'm going to AJ Allmendinger, shocker, road course. Mark Harris, Skybox NASCAR. AJ Allmendinger comes out of my mouth. Versus Shane. I already screwed it up. Shane Van Gisbergen. Here we fucking go.
Mark, you're wearing the shirt. You even have his name on the shirt.
I am wearing the shirt, okay? But I'm betting against him, all right? Money doesn't care about my shirt, and I like the shirt. I think this is low-hanging fruit. It might be. I don't know. But, like, are we serious here? Is this like a sucker bet? I don't know. Like, I might be way off the mark here, but I think this is pure insanity. Unless SVG is the next best thing since sliced bread, he ain't gonna win this week. Okay, I don't think he's gonna finish in the top 5. You know how many perfect things have to go for someone that hasn't been doing this for that long? One time, he's done it one time, and he executed perfectly. It was an anomaly. It's not going to happen again this week at Indy Road Course. Now, AJ Allmendinger, we come on here, I come on here, and I talk about how good he is on road courses, right? Well, he's only got one win in the Cup Series since 2014. Now, it was at Indy, and as Derek said, it was a crazy, stupid race. You know, turn one was just absolutely obnoxious. But I know what I'm going to get out of AJ, okay? He's really only had one bad race over the last couple of years, and that was Sonoma. The last 2 years in the next-gen car, he had power steering issues, terrible race. Other than that, he's been a top 5 car, and 3 of the last 4 road course races, he's been a top 5 car according to speed ranking. The one race that's the odd race out is Chicago Street. He was terrible. I was all in on him. But in the last 9 races, the last 2 years on road course, he's got the 4th best average running position, the 5th best total speed ranking, the 3rd best total speed ranking on the 3 road courses this year, and I expect that to continue. Back to what I said at the beginning. I know that how hard it is to put a perfect race together, and that's what Shane Van Gisbergen did at the Chicago Street Course, and I don't think it's going to happen again. And I'm going to take the guy that's had top 5 speed 3 of the last 4 races on road courses, AJ Allmendinger minus 110 over SVG.
Okay, so you're riding with AJ this weekend, like you said, versus Shane Van Gisbergen. There's probably about 100 different iterations of his name, so I'm glad that you nailed it there as well. So, Matt, I'm going to kick it over to you. Curious to hear what you have to say after I'm muting your mic. What is the head-to-head market that you really feel like has an edge this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm looking at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, just at their lines going into the weekend. And one that really stood out to me that hasn't been mentioned yet, Kyle Larson plus 115 against Chase Elliott. If you take a look at the 2 Hendrick Motorsports kind of stalwarts here on road courses, I would actually argue that the missing name from that list would actually be William Byron, who was the dominant car outside of Tyler Reddick at Austin earlier this year. But if you look at kind of the stats between Larson and Elliott, they're pretty similar on road courses over the last 3 or 4 years. So going back to 2020, which if you take a look at Chase's body of work, most of his best races on road courses were on the front side of that data cohort right there. But since 2020, Chase Elliott's got the best average finish among all drivers, obviously, as most of us know, with a 6.5 average finish. But sitting in 4th, actually really 3rd, because Clint Boyer is 2nd on this list. He's no longer an active driver. But sitting in 3rd is Kyle Larson with a 12.9 average finish. And then if you take a look at the wins column, it's actually even. It's 4 and 4. And then more than anything else, I don't know. I think this narrative is not quite as strong heading into this weekend. But for the balance of the season, just the 5 teams overall been a better team. They haven't executed as well. And obviously the 9 team hasn't executed very well at all throughout the year either. But I just think, I do think Chase is going to be strong this weekend, but I just don't think he's a minus 150 in a matchup against Kyle Larson. I think anytime you can get Larson on a track type that he excels at, which road courses are certainly among that, I'm going to take that every time. And if you take a look at the 2021 Indy Road Course race, the 5 and the 9 were basically pretty equal cars that day as well. And then Larson came out actually Allmendinger won that race that year, but it was a late caution where Larson was dominating. And Larson really should have won that race 2 years back. I forget exactly what caused that yellow. I want to say it was with like 2 to go. I mean, Larson had like a 5 or 6 second lead over Elliott. So I just don't see that matchup, being that lopsided. I actually think if I were to price it, I'd probably have Larson really more in the minus 120 range. I think Elliott's getting too much love from the books just from kind of the Dallas Cowboys effect. As some of us know, plus I think the book is giving him a little bit too much credit for the team probably needing these points this weekend. And I think that's probably being factored in. And I think that's a dangerous position to get in as a bettor when you're kind of betting from the perspective that a team is going to go above and beyond to perform because of some sort of scenario points wise. I just don't think that's a smart play and not something that I think historically really bears fruit. I think teams who have organizational speed ultimately are going to win out regardless of what the point situation is going into a weekend at a given time. And you could even argue based on where the 9 team is, they're probably going to have to take Hail Marys, and that might not work out in their favor. You could end up in a situation where they try a weird strategy that doesn't work out. Whereas the 5 team is probably just going to be focused on getting points for the regular season to move up in the regular season rankings. So plus 115, Kyle Larson in that matchup, to me, that's a smash.
Yeah, I think your explanation there was really good. Worm on YouTube, he was saying the 5 has had some speed. Rye, he was even saying that he likes the Elliott fade. And when you look at some of the head-to-heads this year, just on road courses, we remember Elliott was out at Coda. So if you look at the Sonoma and Chicago, really got backed into a good finish at Chicago because of NASCAR. But, he does lead the head-to-head there 2-0, but it's really close. I mean, Larson's been finishing top 8 in those last 2 road courses. So good discussion there when it comes to this market. Really curious as we move into the next one with the finishing positions, what you guys are thinking. And Mark, I'm going to let you kick off this conversation. Where are we at from a finishing position prop?
Yeah, I'm going Kyle Busch for a top 5er. And when I made my notes, the best line I could find was Caesars because your boy's got a job and I got to prep the night before. But plus 160 on Caesars, plus 190 on Bet Rivers. I don't believe that there's many other books out there with some lines up. So I wouldn't call this a sneaky play by any means, but I'm curious if anyone out there is thinking as highly of Kyle Busch as I am this week. I'm sure there are. But I took a few guys' models that I look at every week. You're going to hear me rant and rave about them. But I really like where Kyle's priced this week. He's double-digit outright. We may even be able to sneak in a top 10 depending on when some of these books open up, what they get him at for a top 10. But back to the models. Highline, our buddy, he's got him at 6th. WinTheRace.info's got him at 4th. iFantasy Race total speed ranking this year on road courses has him 9th. However, if you take out Chicago Street, which I am doing a bunch of this week because there's just there was a lot of ridiculousness, if you want to call it that. If you take that out, he's 3rd in total speed ranking. So even if you make that like that 23rd at Chicago like a 12th, he's still top 5 for speed ranking this year on road courses. As for his finishes, I'm glad you asked. Finished 2nd at Sonoma and Coda this year, 3rd at the Charlotte Roval last year. And you look at what the 8-car and Reddick did last year at road courses in general, but also Indy Road specifically, had the best car, won the race, led 38 laps. We've seen Kyle Busch be fast at tracks that Tyler Reddick was also fast at last year, continually fast this year for Reddick. But I think Kyle Busch shows up this week, and I like top 5 for almost 2-1. I mean, I liked it at plus 160. I love it at plus 190, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's a 2-1 hanging out there. So give me some Kyle Busch this week.
Okay, so you love yourself a little KFB, and like I said on YouTube, you got everything scrolling down at the bottom. So Phil, gonna kick it over to you next, or I'm sorry, Matt, I'm gonna kick it over to you next. Curious to hear what your thoughts are from a finishing position prop, where you kind of finding some value this week.
Yeah, I mean, the deeper you go on the board, I actually think there's some really, really interesting picks. So I'm going to save a couple for the outright discussion, assuming we're going to have an outright discussion, because I think that's where we're going to get those big numbers. But look, there's one that kind of jumped out to me. It's a little bit further up the board. Chris Buescher at plus 250 for a top 5. That seems, again, like an oversight to me. If organizational speed means so much in this sport. Notice I didn't say momentum, like truly organizational speed. And if you look at what the 17 team and what RFK has been doing over the past couple of weeks, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't translate from track type to track type. I mean, we've seen in the next gen car, typically teams that have organizational speed at one particular given time seem to carry that speed from week to week. Buescher has now won the past 2 races at Richmond, a short track, and now Michigan, a super intermediate. The biggest intermediate of them all. So as disparate track types as you get. And then, the real proof in the pudding for me here is Buescher's got the second best average finish among all drivers on road courses since 2020. He's nearly won. You could have made an argument that he was the fastest car at Sonoma late in that race last year. Just didn't feel like he was as aggressive as he needed to be to outmuscle Suarez at the end of that one. But, another technical road course, not a high deg road course like Sonoma is, but I am pretty shocked that he's being listed at plus 250 for a top 5. I'm also seeing plus 550 for a top 3, which I also think is pretty interesting. And he's priced at plus 2,000 in the outrights for winner. So Chris Buescher, I think definitely a good pick if you want to kind of ride that recent momentum that RFK has, and if you believe in their organizational speed. And I see every reason to believe that it would. We've seen Toyota has had organizational speed throughout the summer that hasn't really wavered, and it's carried from track type to track type. And I think the same thing is going to play out with the 17 team this week.
Yeah, it's interesting, like you said, about that organizational momentum, right? Just some of those elements. If you look at what Brad Keselowski's
Derek,
done,
unmute yourself.
If you look at what Brad Keselowski has done here lately with RFK, he's got the second best average finish over the last 5 races, which is phenomenal. And that's up against a guy like Denny Hamlin, who's been finishing in the top 5, I believe, is each of the last 5 races, or maybe even in the last 7 races as well. So good information there, Matt, when it comes to that. Phil, welcome to YouTube. Welcome. Good to see your face. What do you got for us when it comes to the finishing position market?
Yeah, I'm glad I could join the party here, boys, because there has not been a bet talked about yet tonight that I disagree with. Very excited to hear some of these things, and I hope that I can kind of keep it going in everybody else's minds here. This is a bet that I'm kind of baffled with, kind of like the other one I called out. Have Gibbs was a underdog against Blaney. I don't know how in a top 10 market where there are very little books offering top 10s this early in the week, Caesars has just nuked the top 10 market. Like we're talking like ridiculous numbers on some of these guys, and to the point where it's like not fun anymore. But who's peeking through the tall grass here at plus 100? Something that I'm shocked about, and it's Michael McDowell. I feel like we talk about him when it comes to road courses and super speedways, but to see all these other guys minus 250, minus 300 or whatever, and Michael McDowell is plus 100, you got to pay attention. I feel like you have to take this because of what the market's looking at in there. So just to, kind of sturdy the pick here, last 9 road course races, 1 top 5, which I think I was a little nervous when I saw the other guys so short because I didn't want to take McDowell as a top 5. 1 for 9, top 5, but he's 6 for 9 for a top 10. Average finish is 3rd in NASCAR in that time frame, 10.1. Driver rating is 3rd. We're not talking about Chase Elliott. He's got better numbers than him in some of these cases here. So just really shocking. And in 2023, it's just been more of the same. 2 top 10s out of the 3 races we've seen. Average finish is 4th, 8.7. Driver rating is 2nd. And we're talking about a guy who was way down the list on the top 10 sheet here. So it's just crazy. And last year, he started 7th, finished 8th. And last year, I think I had a lot of hesitation even betting this race because of what 2021 had and how chaotic it was. I think they kind of stabilized a little bit. Turn 1 still crazy, but still, you see a guy starting 7th, finishing 8th. And so that's, pretty solid here. So flying below the radar. I like McDowell in a number of other ways, but, in this case, give me a top 10 plus 100.
Derek, one more. I don't know if you mentioned this when you were muted, but Denny Hamlin at plus 250 for top 5 that's shocking to me. In fact, DraftKings has Hamlin and Buescher both priced exactly the same across all markets. That's shocking. I mean, that was the best car, or arguably the best car, neck and neck with Truex before Hamlin's team kind of upset the apple cart for him in Sonoma. And then Chicago, again, Hamlin shot his own foot there early in the race. But the 11 team has had organizational speed every place that they've gone. To price that at plus 250 seems to fit the trend that we're seeing across all these finishing position markets. It's kind of crazy, some of the numbers on these guys.
What do you think about? I got asked this question this morning. What do you think about Denny Hamlin top 10 plus? I believe it was plus 100, maybe plus 110. What do you think of that, Matt?
Sorry, you cut out because someone was calling me right, and I had to repeat them quick. So could you say it was Denny Hamlin at what number in the top 10?
Listen, I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate that you're making some time for us. I was asking about Denny Hamlin. I got a text this morning. I believe it was plus 110, top 10, maybe even plus 100. I forget which one that was said to me. What do you think about that, Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, I think if you're getting Denny Hamlin at a plus number of any kind for top 10, that's shocking. It truly is shocking to me. I don't understand what the philosophy is on that. Because again, the 11 team is next to the 19, and arguably the 17 in the last couple of weeks. No team has had better week-to-week speed than the 11, and the 11 and 19 were way better than everybody else at Sonoma. And what I'll say next is not. It's more of a educated assumption. I am not an engineer, so please take this with a grain of salt. But what I've seen over the course of the summer is that the hotter the tracks get and the more technical the track, more off throttle time really seems to be favoring the 11 and the 19. Like it seems like JGR and Toyota in general has something figured out. I don't know if they're generating more down. I would assume they're generating more downforce somehow, and they figured something out. That's going to massively translate, I think, to this weekend. It's a technical, lower speed road course through much of the track. So I'd be shocked. I truly would be shocked if, assuming a wreck, a mechanical failure, something like that Denny doesn't finish in the top 10 or at least have top 10 speed.
Okay, I think that's good information. And Worm is on Twitter or is on YouTube, and he's telling us Denny now minus 125 most places, Buescher minus 106, Byron, who we talked about as well, plus 100, and McDowell at plus 100 as well. So it's very interesting conversation. And Matt, I think you're right about the temperature. We hear it so many times. Denny's talking about it, TRD's talking about it. The hotter the temperatures, the better those cars are. I think it was cooler, obviously, on Monday versus what it was on Sunday, with some beaten down a little bit at times as well. And I think had that played out, that race probably plays out differently with Toyota. We saw how strong they were in Michigan. Got to give credit to 17. They still got it done. Phil, I know your hand is up. Do you want to chime in here at all?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, we were saying like this is kind of shocking to see him at this number, and I agree. And I probably could be convinced, but what I'm looking at is, and Matt kind of alluded to it, like shooting themselves in the foot. Going back to the start of 2022 season, you know how many top 10s he's had? Zero. So that is why he probably started off as plus money for a top 10, because, whoever's doing the math behind the scenes, I guess, is looking at that. Because whether they have speed or not, if you can't put a full race together, then what are we talking about? So I agree. Like, he's enticing because he's been fast. Obviously, Matt laid all those points out. It's just like, when is he actually going to get over that hump? Is it something going on with that team, like collectively, like mentally, or, there's some sort of boogeyman with these road courses? I don't know what it is, but zero, that's crazy. So that's why I was kind of like, whoa, I'm going to back off a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm glad. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I think that's the narrative that I think you have to weigh with Denny. Is the reality is of the two leading JGR cars, 11 and 19. The 19 is a far more complete race team. like they execute flawlessly. That wasn't the case with the James Small led 19 team up until really this year. They've really figured a lot of things out. But I think with Denny, it's a bit feast or famine. Like when they hit it, and especially when they get long green flag runs and there's low volatility in the race, the 11 team tends to be able to leverage their speed and use that to get good finishes. But I would, to kind of support Phil's point, if the race breaks in a volatile direction with a lot of cautions, that doesn't bode well generally, I think, for the 11 team. So it's something you got to think about if you're going to invest in it this weekend.
Yeah, it's a good thing to think. It's a good thing to think about, and I absolutely agree. Matt, I'm going to stay with you over these next two topics and get you out of here. I want to hear what you have to say from an outright perspective. Very curious to hear. Kind of teased it. There's some larger pricing down at the bottom. Where are you kind of leading, and what have you found from that outright perspective? Maybe who holds the most value in your estimation?
Yeah, I mean, I know if you're on Twitter, it's pretty much been the main talking point amongst betting types on Twitter today. But look, I'll bring it up anyway. I mean, Kamui Kobayashi still being offered at crazy prices right now, plus 5,000 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Tipico Sportsbook is offering Kamui. Actually, they came down quite a bit. They're down to plus 3,000. So maybe somebody internally is listening to me. But look, man, Kamui Kobayashi is a massive talent. I think this is very similar to the SVG situation heading in Chicago, where I just think unfamiliarity from the book, and probably in this case, a lot of attention being paid to the Australian V8 Supercars drivers, because Brody Kostecki is listed at plus 1,700, who is Van Gisbergen's kind of contemporary overseas in the Supercar series. He's not in better equipment, and I would actually argue that Kobayashi's in better equipment going into this weekend and is equally as talented. So the book is giving way too much credit to Kostecki, probably too much shine from SVG on him going into the weekend. So I don't really love Kostecki at plus 1,700, but Kobayashi at plus 5,000 is still a steal. The industry scuttlebutt over the past few days has been that Kobayashi was better than all of the JGR Cup drivers on the sim. And everything that I've heard from folks who are close to these sim programs is that there's certain tracks where the sim tends to translate better to real life. And the road courses, from everything that I've kind of gathered, seem to translate better. So speed on the sim tends to translate better to speed on real life. And Kobayashi apparently blew everybody away. Dale Jr. was talking about it on his podcast today. Tyler Reddick referenced it. So I think if you combine the organizational speed that Toyota has coming into this weekend, 23XI in particular has had speed, and Kobayashi will be piloting a 23XI car. To me, that's a crazy price. Like, I think he should be probably in the 2,000 range. So yeah, Kobayashi, Worm pointed it out, way better equipment. You can even argue he's in better equipment than SVG this weekend. I would actually say that's probably an uncontroversial take. The Trackhouse cars have not been very strong over the past month or so. And I would argue that, the way that Chicago race broke, it certainly was less about equipment and far more about something that SVG had figured out from a driving perspective at that race. So it might be scary to actually see what a driver of that caliber talent on road courses can do in equipment that kind of merits that talent. So I would say get on it while you can, because I think that's going to be at least below 3,000 at most books before Saturday, I would say.
Yeah. So like you said, you guys over at Tipico, you have it at 30-1 right now, and it's a varying price rate, right? I am. I did that.
Man,
before.
you're a rookie, dog. Come on.
I know. I'm trying to produce. I'm trying to do Twitter. I'm trying to do YouTube. I'm trying to do it all. So yeah, you were mentioning about you guys have it at 30-1. Other books have it at various pricing. Tell everybody, Matt, I'll let you get out of here. Tell everybody where they can kind of best support everything you got going on, but also Tipico. I know you guys are in Ohio, New Jersey, Colorado. Am I missing anything?
No, you nailed it. So yeah, New Jersey, Ohio, Colorado, and Iowa are the 4 states where we're live with Tipico Sportsbook. we've had a really awesome summer. We sponsored Zane Smith at the Mid-Ohio Truck Series race, almost won. Happy to share with you guys, we saw our highest handle month ever on NASCAR in July. So I definitely think just a combined effort of the campaign and just the ongoing growth of the sport, and a great summer from NASCAR just in general, just an entertaining summer for the sport. So we're seeing more interest on NASCAR than we ever have. So I credit, this community who you guys have done a great job of helping support. And, we'll just kind of ask you guys to continue to do so if you're in one of the states where you can legally play with us. So that'd be the big thing. Obviously, we mentioned Monday Night Racing. We got one more race left in the Monday Night Racing summer season, and then we're going to be coming back for a main Monday Night Racing season and later in the fall, probably like October, November. So looking forward to that. But if you guys want to follow along with me, I'm on Twitter and I'm Stall41, and go from there.
As you can see, you have a fan that put in a request. Somebody in Arizona, no names, so somebody down there wants to help you out. So thank you, Matt. I appreciate you coming on. Good luck tonight in your race, and thanks again for joining us. And looking forward to hearing at the end of the year, where Tipico is going, continuing to go, especially in the motorsports market. So thanks for all that you're doing there. We appreciate it again having you. So I'm going to move over to Mark. I'm going to give you the floor next from an outright perspective. Let us know, Mark, where have you found the most value when it comes to the outright market?
Yeah, I wouldn't call this value, but I would call this a winner. I'm going Chase Elliott, Mickey Mouse, 7.5 to 1. And, listen, I understand he's fallen off a little bit. All these stats that I'm about to rattle off happened on the front end of all these road courses. Yes, you guys look great on YouTube with all the SKYBOX hats. Shout out. If you guys want one, DM me. Chase Elliott, most popular driver in America. He's not in the playoffs right now. All right. NASCAR gets their boy in the playoffs, and it ain't on points. All right. Let's jump straight to the numbers here. Speed ranking on the last 2 years on road courses, 2nd. Speed ranking at Indy last year, 5th. Highline model, got him 3rd. WinTheRace.info, got him 5th. FRCS.pro's got our boy 2nd. Okay. He hasn't fallen off. All right. I trust these guys. He's won a boatload of races. What did Matt say, or whoever was talking? He's won 4 races in the last couple of years on road courses. And I think Chase Elliott brings it. I think Cindric, we've seen flashes. We saw Byron be good. We saw Bowman be good on road courses earlier this year. We haven't really seen that at a Chase. So, his playoff chances are on the line. His pride's on the line here at Indy. I would have liked to see him at a bigger number, maybe a 10 to 1. 12 to 1, but the books, they're going to be exposed if they go double digits on Chase Elliott. So this is the best number that we've seen him on a road course since, right when he came back from breaking his leg, we saw a big number, but they've come back down probably because they saw how much money they were exposed to earlier this year. And I think I'm not going to call it a gut. All right. I just think that the 9 team and Hendrick Motorsports shows up this weekend. They have to throw all their eggs in the next 3 weeks. I know he's really good at Watkins Glen, and I know he's good at super speedways in Daytona, but I think he shows up this week, and I'm taking Chase 7.5 to 1.
Yeah, keep drinking that Chase Elliott Kool-Aid. I'll let you drink all of that. Phil, I'm going to kick it to you next. Where are we going from an outright perspective?
Yeah, I'm going to say let's record everything he just said and just play it next week. That'll be my response next week in this section, because Chase at Watkins Glen is where I have him. I don't think he does it this week, but we'll see. If we get Chase 7.5 to 1 next week at Watkins Glen, I'll be happy about that. I'm not too thrilled. I feel like at this point, in the week, you're either finding a good price on Tyler Reddick somewhere. There's a couple ways you can weasel into a 7 to 1 on him. But outside of that, I feel like you got to look further, multiple double digits. And so I'm landing on someone that kind of taking a swing on and looking for this person to rebound a little bit. This is 26 to 1 for Austin Cindric. And before you throw up, just hear me out here, because I think Sonoma really put a lot of people in a bad place with Austin Cindric, and it kind of sent him in a bit of a down spiral for the season, really. And I see SC's giving me thumbs down. That's fine. That's fine. He's a bubble guy, Cindric. And, I think he really, could point his way in if he were to, these three tracks kind of line up with his skill set. And we saw coming out of Xfinity, like Austin Cindric, so great on road courses. I mean, he won this racetrack 2021 in Xfinity. So where has that been? He hasn't pulled that off in the Cup Series yet. But, looking at him last year at this race, he practiced first, qualified second, finished the race second. And at 26-1, I'm looking at it as if he goes out there and kind of can do that again, or at least some shade of it, that number's going to go down. If he's qualifying in the top 10, practicing the top 5, that number's not going to be there. So 26-1 is where, I'm really looking at that and saying, wow, it's pretty good. In the last 9 races on road courses, he's 4th in average finish, 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s. And so 26-1 is worth a shot on a Wednesday night, I think. And you say to yourself, well, he's been really shitty this season. Sort of. He's got 2 6th place finishes. Coda, he finished 6th. Sonoma, complete shit show. Don't know what went down there. Very strange situation. Then to start Chicago, bad off the truck. Qualified in the 30s. But then salvaged a 6th place finish. So they were actually kind of showing signs of life last week at Michigan. So I'm interested in this number for him. And on top of that, plus 100 for a top 10 for Cindric is definitely doable. So that's why I said, hear me out. Sorry, SC. But this is somebody that I'm kind of looking at maybe getting some good value on now this time of the week and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you laid it out there well. Where my eyeballs went, if somebody doesn't mind on Twitter and on YouTube, maybe find me the best number right now on Kyle Busch. I know what it was. I'm curious what it is right now. Can't look it up as I'm doing the show. But that's where my eyeballs went. The defending car won this last year, also won at the Road America, which was Tyler Reddick in that 8 car. Only driver this year to finish top 5 in each of those 3 road course races, Kyle Busch. So whether it's 11 or 10-1, I still think that 10-1 number, maybe I'm just trying to go back and get hurt again. I was big on him last week at Michigan. I guess it's just one of those things. I'm chasing heartbreak maybe all over again. So if anybody wouldn't mind, maybe tell me what that number is. That would be great. I see Worms say, okay, 12. Oh, that's on Kyle. Thank you. So that'll definitely be, maybe I'll add a little bit to that. So let's go to the best bet portion. And Phil, I want to kick it off with you. From a best bet perspective, what have you been able to find when we go into looking at the board in its entirety?
Well, so I got 2 quick ones, if that's okay, Derek. I'm going to keep on keeping on with some SRX because I've been on fire with the SRX stuff. And this week they're going to Eldora, and I'm seeing plus 375 for Chase Briscoe. Now, Tony Stewart is the favorite. This is on Caesars. I've been just looking for, Bovada and other places to drop their lines to see if they're equal. But Tony Stewart's the favorite, plus 150. Anybody been watching SRX this year? He's been dog shit. Like 12th place every week. I don't know what's going on. He just doesn't care. Now, I know that he's probably the favorite because he owns Eldora. I get it. But if it actually is just kind of like a downswing in performance for Stewart, I don't see how plus 150 is justified. So plus 375 for Chase Briscoe. We hear about it, at Bristol Dirt. He's one of the dirt guys in NASCAR. At Eldora, he's got 3 career starts in the trucks, if you want to try to have like an equivalency there. He finished 2nd as a rookie, won the next year, and then won stage 1 and 2 in the following year, ends up finishing 7th. So, I mean, that guy knows how to get around that joint, and to put him in that car equal with everybody else, I think Chase Briscoe is going to put on a little bit of a show on Thursday night. And the winner from, each SRX race has really been in and around that like plus 300, plus 400 number. So Briscoe plus 375, get it while you can, because I think after they practice, it's not going to be there. The other one I'll throw in real quick, Caesars threw one out there that I have not seen in a while. Will there be overtime in the Cup race. It's at plus 275, and I find that hilarious, and I like it. I mean, what does Indy Road Course trigger in your minds? Like kind of chaos. So I think we could see that for sure. So plus 275 for a little. That could be a little insurance play in case one of your guys gets wiped out in some crazy bullshit.
Yeah, that one right there, the Caesars one, definitely wild. Could be, right. We've seen that a time or two, and it's on the biggest channel right now on TV, NBC. So there's always a little drama when NASCAR and NBC seem to be paired up. So you never know. So a couple call outs there. You have been red hot when it comes to SRX. So SRX, but it's HOT. So there's like that whole combination there. So Mark, I'm going to kick it over to you. Where are we going when it comes to what you found as a best bet? This is the money segment presented by NASCAR Money.
NASCAR Money, baby. Just a money segment. And I'm going for a big dog. Big number, big dog. Now I'm going Ryan Blaney, 45-1. And, there's been a lot of shit talk about our YRB. I understand it, okay? I know what you're thinking. He's been total ass on road courses this year. I get it. He's got no better finish than 21st. And really, the Fords in general, aside from a couple, Buescher, McDowell, okay, they haven't been great. The Blue Ovals first on race day. They haven't been first except for the last 2 weeks on ovals. Now, your boy Ryan Blaney had a rocket last year at the Indy Road Course. 4th best speed ranking. Could have won the race. Wasn't for getting caught up in that turn 1 calamity. And that's a big part of this bet, okay? I understand. He's been dog shit. But 45-1 for what Phil was just talking about. He's just talking about laying plus 275 for some late race chaos. We've seen it all 3 years we've gone, or this is the third. Both years we've gone there. We've seen just absolute chaos. Last year, a little bit more tame than the year before, but I think it still happens again where this restart zone, we're going to see if it rye. I don't want to see that. No Blaney. Yes, Blaney. Okay, 45-1 is a big number. Okay, this is a large number. He led 17 laps last year. I don't know if I've already said that. And also, the last few years, he's had a couple good finishes. He finished 6th at Coda and Sonoma. He finished 11th at Road America. And if you give me Blaney, yes, Worm, he did make a great strategy call. He still went out and led 17 laps, okay? And he was still in position after a restart to go win the race. That's fine. Wintherace.info. Okay. All the models, everybody, they've got him in 25th to 30th. I think someone threw out a 32nd earlier. He's dog shit. But it's also the case. I've laid some coin on this. I've already bet it. I threw some shekels on it. Ryan Blaney, 45-1. It's a big number. Now, you can have the same conversation about Harvick at 65-1, Bowman 71, I think 70-1. I think I saw Brad at 70-1. It's the same conversation. Guys that are in good equipment that could show up with late race calamity. And I think all those guys I just named have a better chance to win than the 4 road course ringers that are coming in here. And I'm not trying to shit talk him. All right. Kobayashi, Kostecki, SVG, Button, Andy Lally. A couple of them are in questionable equipment, but I think it's worth a shot. We've seen so much chaos here. Why? I think it's worth looking at these guys that are very capable of running in the top 5 and the top 10 at these monstrous numbers. So I picked Blaney, but I also like Bowman, Harvick, Brad, some of these veterans that are at big numbers this week.
I didn't know if you wanted to keep going. There's more drivers in the field. Just name everybody. We'll tie.
All right, here we go.
And then we can be like, oh, Mark, you called the winner. I will say this. So you obviously mentioned Blaney, but you did say he's been running like dog shit. And then, this is the number. So that was smart. So let's do this. We'll transition over to Twitter Spaces in its entirety. If you're watching right now on YouTube, we're going to switch over there, do the listening questions and hear what some of the community has to say. We always appreciate everybody on YouTube that watches it. Make sure you like and subscribe. It does help the In Between Media group. And again, we'll pop over here on NASCAR or in the Twitter Spaces and we'll chat there. So thanks again, guys, for joining us on YouTube. You requested to speak here